introduction to GCP. So before we dive into GCP, let me just show you what we'll go through. So first we'll understand the history of cloud computing, where it comes from, how it started, and maybe a little of why it started. We'll understand the early implementations of it, like time sharing services, like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. And then we'll begin to look at GCP as a whole. We'll start looking at some of the services and products that are provided by GCP. And then we will do a quick demo together where I will show you how to do one of the labs so that it is easier to understand. Okay, so let's dig in. So, the earliest roots of cloud computing actually can be traced back to the 1960s, where computer scientists like J.C.R. Licklider had envisioned essentially what they called an intergalactic network computer. That's how dreamy these guys used to be about cloud computing, right? Where basically the idea is that everyone could access data from everywhere. This idea was a precursor to what we now call the cloud, the ability to share computing resources globally. Now, early iterations of this idea began to emerge in the sense of time sharing systems. Now, if you guys have heard of time sharing systems, please tell me in the chat if you guys know of any of those. That might even reveal your age, but don't worry, I won't tell anyone. So, it started off with concepts like time sharing systems. So, really think of it this way, that they used to use large mainframe computers, but now the problem is that those large mainframe computers were really expensive. So companies would rent out access to their processing powers. Users would essentially connect via dummy terminals and get a small slice of the powerful machine, essentially sharing a resource. Now, like I said, this was like an early sense of cloud computing. And at the time, the resources weren't that heavy or that intense, right? You were essentially sharing spreadsheets or terminals or Word documents, right? It was like these very low level resources. Now we enter into like more modern implementations of cloud, and we start off with software as a service. Now, SaaS, this is probably something you're familiar with, right? And even the term itself. So think of it as a finished product you use over the internet. Its earliest form can really be traced back to application services providers of the late 90s, where companies would host and manage business applications for their customers, right? The modern equivalent of something like that, or rather something you use on a daily, would be something like Gmail or Google Docs, where really you don't need to install the software per se. If you're on Android, of course, it comes pre-installed with your device, but really all you need to do is to log into the system and you have access to these tools like your Gmail, like your Google Drive, your Google Lens, Google Calendar as well, right? So this is like the utility software that you use on a daily, but you don't have to worry about its implementation, where is it actually running. So that's a brief walk into software as a service. Now let's look at something called platform as a service. I'm not going to say the acronym. It sounds kind of weird when you actually say it. So let's go into platform as a service. Now, this model gives developers a platform to build and run applications without worrying about the underlying hardware or operating system. I think an early example of this would be Salesforce in the mid 2000s, right? They allowed developers to create custom applications on their platform. And now today, platform as a service is essentially the cornerstone of cloud development, providing everything from app hosting to databases with a few clicks. So think of something like App Engine or Compute Engine, right? Where you as a developer, your job is to build an app and then deploy it on the cloud, right? This makes it a lot easier. You don't have to worry about having to build your app and then setting up a server yourself and then having to deploy it on-prem. I think one of the best things about platform as a service is the idea that there's baked in security into it. So essentially, you don't even have to worry about very hectic implementations for security as well. So that's essentially platform as a service. Now we move on to something that's far more complex, but it essentially it uses the same sort of principles, but this is infrastructure as a service, right? And this is like the most fundamental layer of cloud services. It gives you raw computing resources like virtual machines, storage, and networking that you manage yourself. I mean, its commercial beginnings, although I hate to say this on a Google platform, its early beginnings were linked to actually Amazon Web Services in the early 2000s, I think 2006, if I'm not mistaken. And with infrastructure as a service, you get the servers and you install the operating system, the applications and everything itself. Basically, you manage it. Now, for this level of implementation, I always say it's always important to get someone with a firm understanding of what they're doing. You don't want to be configuring some of the stuff yourself without experience. I mean, the cost could run high. Those who know, who've messed around with some environments, by month end when they see the bill, it's like, well, how did it run so high? It comes down to the implementation of some of these things, which we will get into in a few minutes. So yes, yeah, understanding. I feel like understanding where this comes from or having that historical background helps us appreciate the immense power and flexibility that modern cloud platforms provide. And that brings us to the start of our show. That is the Google Cloud Platform, or GCP for short. Now, it takes these concepts and provides a massive global infrastructure with a wide array of services designed to help you build everything from simple websites to complex planet scaled applications. And that's what we're diving into. So, I mean, you can see how immense the services are on GCP, right? So, for compute, we have things like App Engine, where App Engine is essentially a platform as a service that allows developers run, to build and run web and mobile applications without having to manage the infrastructure, right? So, like I said, it's the same instance as Compute Engine. Your job as a developer is to build your app and then deploy it on the cloud. And then we have things like Kubernetes engines. If anyone is familiar with containers, this is what the Kubernetes engine is good for. So it's a managed service that provides a container orchestration system to run and manage containerized applications. Now, for identity and security, you get Cloud IAM, which is really identity administration management. And what this is, it's a service that enables users to manage access to Google Cloud resources by creating and managing policies and roles. Now, let me give you a quick scenario of what this may look like. Let's say now you are the cloud administrator for your company, and there's obviously other members of the company who need access to the cloud. What this then does, it helps you create policies and roles. Now, let's say, for example, some members of the organization cannot access stuff like the billing of the cloud service, right? So we don't want people to start using services on the platform that may cost more. So you create policies and you put roles in place to ensure that everyone in the organization knows their role and they have permission to only certain resources and not all, right? This is a way to manage your overall infrastructure, cloud infrastructure. So now let's also look at networking. On the side of networking, which is over here, just in case some people are not following along, we have really a VPC, which is a virtual private cloud. Now, this allows you to create your own isolated private network within Google's infrastructure. Now, this gives you full control over your IP address ranges, your subnets, routing tables, and even firewalls. Then we also have a cloud CDN, or cloud content delivery network. Now, I think this is a good tool to use, especially in these days where everyone's a podcast or everyone has a music channel, right? What this does for you really, it caches your website and application content closer to your users worldwide, right? This significantly reduces the latency and improves performance. So now people anywhere in the world can get to your services and can get to your products, your online products really quickly, depending on how well you configure your CDN. And then let's look at big data. We are here now on big data. I mean, I think for big data, the biggest talk right now is really BigQuery, right? And what BigQuery is it's a fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse. So BigQuery allows you to run super fast SQL-like queries on massive data sets. It's serverless, so there's no infrastructure to manage, and it scales automatically. So for all the people in big data, you may want to start looking at BigQuery if you're not already using it. Now let's quickly jump on to everyone's favorite buzzword these days, which is AI and machine learning. Now for machine learning, they have like very interesting APIs that you can use out of the box. So I just picked two of my favorites that we can look at. We can look at the translation API. Now, Translation API is essentially a service that provides real-time translation between various languages. Of course, we must still complain that we need more African languages on the platform. Guys, if you hear me, please write to Google and tell them we need more African languages on the platform. So the service basically supports various use cases such as website localization, customer support, and e-commerce as well. So users can integrate Translation API with their applications to enable real-time translation without requiring any language expertise. Next is probably one of my favorite, the Vision AI or Vision API. So what Vision AI does, it's really a set of pre-trained machine learning models that can be used for image and video analysis. Now, this service supports various use cases such as object detection, face detection, and text recognition. So users can integrate vision AI with their applications to enable image and video analysis without requiring, like I said, any expertise. So quickly dive into essentially the main services, or rather services that I use frequently and would like to dive into. Firstly, let's talk about Compute Engine, right? Compute Engine is essentially Google's version of a virtual server or a virtual machine. Now, this gives you complete control over the operating system and the software you run. Now, just think of it as a physical server, but with the flexibility and scalability of the cloud, right? I think what I always advise is people who'd understand how much memory they'd use, how much CPU power they'd use, people who can actually configure some of these things. I highly recommend Compute Engine to get yourself started, to actually dig into GCP. Next is another favorite of mine, which is cloud storage, but this will be discussed in further detail in a later talk. I think that will be week 3, which will be done by Lesego. So this is a massively scalable global storage service. So think of it as a digital storage locker really for all your files. So from your images to your videos to backups and even data archives, right? So think of it as something you can use rather really instead of like Google Drive, but for a large organization, right? You can store petabytes of data on cloud storage. And again, if you want that to be served over a website, of course, we can always go back to our cloud CDN, which we spoke about earlier. I think I already touched on BigQuery before. So that sort of gives you an idea of GCP. So like I said, guys, this is an introductory level into GCP. I'm sure most of you are tired of me, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do the next best thing, demo. It's demo time. So please give me a second while I share my screen where we'll be doing the demo. If there's any questions, guys, please leave them in the chat. And also, I hope I'm not moving too fast. Okay, guys, we're back again. Can you guys see my screen? Please let me know in the chat. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to launch the lab. Okay, so before I jump in, I know the time has started. What I want to show you guys, when you start doing these labs, you'll get a similar setup as to the one I'm showing you right now, right? And where it says open console, just really hover over there, double click, and then drag it to your next tab. What that will do is it will open up another tab where the actual lab will be running in. So the reason for this is so that this account that you'll be using for the lab doesn't conflict with your main Gmail account or main Google account. Now, this is for billing purposes, right? So you don't want to start building test environments only to be charged actual money when you're just really learning how to build a service on GCP. Okay, let me quickly share that screen so that we can start with our lab. Okay, cool. So this is what our environment will look like when setting up. So let's jump in quickly, guys. So the first thing you want to do is launch the Cloud Shell. Now think of your Cloud Shell as really the terminal that you use on the cloud, right? I mean, sure, it's in the name, but really, if I were to break down what the Cloud Shell is, it's essentially a virtual machine that is loaded with development tools, right? And really, it offers you the ability to really control most of your cloud resources using the shell. Okay, let's fire that up. It says we're good. Let's authorize our Cloud Shell. And there we go. It's fired up. Now to really test our Cloud Shell, I'm going to type in this command. It's gcloud auth list. And what it does, it really shows me the account that I'm logged in. As you can see, I'm logged in with the student account, which is the one we'll be using throughout this lab, right? So a brief overview of what this lab is really. In this lab, we'll be creating a virtual machine with the Cloud Console, and then we will create a VM using the gcloud command. So now on GCP, whenever you use the terminal, most of your commands will start off with gcloud. If you're a Linux user, I think you've seen where you do a sudo. If you're doing something like a web development backend, is something like node, or where the command is node and then whatever you're going to run. So think of gcloud as the precursor before you make a command on GCP. Okay, so that is a quick walkthrough of our Cloud Shell. Okay, then I think we can begin with our lab real quick. First things first, we've activated our Cloud Shell. We've tested it out. Now what we want to do is we want to set up our environment, or we want to set up our zones. So with GCP, they have what they call zones and regions, right? So a certain compute engine resource lives in certain regions or zone. So a region is a specific geographic location where you can run your resources. Each region has one or more zones. For example, Let me actually share that part so you can actually see it. So I'm not just talking to myself. Nice. So Rhea, there we have it. So each region can have like more than one zone. So for example, you see we have Western US. Now that region can have two zones where it's like West 1A and West 1B, right? So it goes on for the Central US, European regions as well. So resources that live in a zone are referred to as zonal resources. Virtual machine instances and persistent disks live in a zone. So essentially, think of it as I was explaining it to you earlier. Sometimes you set up resources in a region closer to basically someone who's going to use it so that they can get access to those resources quicker. And those are deployed over the cloud without any latency or very low latency, to be fair. Because let's be honest, there's no such thing as no latency, right? Let's jump back quickly to the lab. I just wanted you guys to have a quick understanding of regions, how they work, and why they even exist. Now let's go back to our Cloud Shell. Close this, such a disturbance. Let's go back to our command. So now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to set up a region. So we'll say gcloud config set compute region. To be fair, guys, when you guys are doing these labs, you don't have to type it out like me. It's often risky when you do that. Then the command doesn't go wrong. You can just really copy and paste the commands they provided to you. So now we are setting it up at Europe West 1. Let's run that. Setting up, updated, we're good. The region has been set up. Now, I'll just copy and paste this command. So there we go. So what this does, this creates a variable for our region, right? Created our variable. Now we have to run this following command to create a zone. So we will set the zone. As you can see, let me just make this command clear. So it's export zone equals to Europe, East B. Okay, we're good to go. So now we've set up our zones, right? The next thing to do, now we need to create a new instance from the Cloud Console. Let's go to our navigation bar. Here's our nav bar over here. And now I'm looking for compute engine. Let's find compute engine. There we go. Go to our compute engine. We say VM instances. There we go. We're set up. Let me actually minimize our Cloud Shell. I feel like it's taking up all the space. There we go. Let's hope it doesn't complain when I open it up. Okay, so let's create an instance. Now, you'll notice if you're new to Cloud Skills Boost or some of the labs, as you go along, it'll keep giving you instructions to basically guide you through the lab so you understand what it is you're doing, right? So now in the machine configuration field, let's just enter a few things. So for name, we are provided with the name GCE lab. Let's use that. Okay, and then for region, we have Europe West 1, which is in Belgium. And then for our zone, we have to pick one. So let's go in there. For now, it says any, but I would advise you to pick Europe West 1B. Okay, let's go down. Now for our series, let's just pick E2, which funny enough is preset for us, so we don't have to press anything there. You know what they say, if it ain't broke, leave it alone. Okay, machine type, let's see. Okay, this preset one is also good. Now that we've picked everything, Let's click on OS and storage. Let me quickly find that. Let's go to our OS and storage. Click again. Okay, let's configure some of these things here. Operating system is good. So these are just some of the pre-checks, right, before we start running our VN, just so we can see what it is we're dealing with. And never mind these costs. Remember, I told you now that you're using a student account, this lab is essentially free so that you can learn and understand what you're doing. So, I mean, if you look at here, everything has been preset for us, right? From the name to the type, all our pre-checks are in order, basically. I want to just check data protection. Looks like we're good over there. Oh, just one more thing. I think I forgot. Small changes we need to make on this side. So for our OS, we need to make sure that it runs Debian and make sure it runs the Linux version of it, but not Bookworm. We have to choose Bullseye. Balance disk, okay, cool. And then we leave the size to 10 gigabytes. Okay, awesome. That's that part changed. We're good. Now let me let that run in the meantime. Let's go to our network again. Now on the firewall, we actually need to allow HTTP traffic. So remember, this isn't necessarily a deployed service. So running it over HTTPS would require us to have at least an SSL certificate, which we don't have. And since this is a free lab, we really just want to run it for the sake of seeing how it will work, right? Okay, so now we have all our things configured. We made sure our machine configuration is in order, which was over here. We configured our OS and storage, and we just checked our network. Everything seems to be in order. Don't worry about all these other ones. Those are preset for you, so you should be fine. Now that we have all our checks in order, let's finally create our VM. Fingers crossed, demo gods don't fail us now. Let's see how that plays out. Okay, let's give it a few seconds to run. This is where we'll check the status and find out if it's good to go. Now, while this is running, if you guys can think of any questions in the chat, please leave them in there. And I think Chi-Chi will read them out for us in a few minutes. So I think I'll just do Q&A while we wait for this to run. Okay, looks like it is ready. Okay, so now we need to use SSH. Remember now, our thing isn't necessarily configured to HTTPS, right? So we will have to use SSH on the platform. So let's quickly click on this. Let's authorize that. There we go. Okay, now we go to the next part of this. Now on this, we need to install an Nginx web server, right? If any of you know what that is, please tell the rest in the chat. Guys, what is an Nginx server? It's spelled Nginx. I want to see who the web developers are here. Okay, now that that's running, let's quickly install that. We'll say sudo apt-get update. Now, if you're a Linux user like me, you should know we do this every day. It's basically breakfast for us. Now that's done. Now let's actually install our Nginx server. Okay, let's let that run. Also note, guys, how we're just installing packages, we're installing servers, right? This is all done on the cloud. So we actually don't have to worry. Oops, my mistake. I just noticed you guys weren't seeing those commands as they were going in. My mistake. Let me actually run you through those commands. So the first thing I did was I updated using sudo, right? So the first command you see here is sudo apt-get update. And that basically updates my virtual machine that's running Linux Bullseye or Debian Bullseye as the operating system. Then the next command was over here, which you see, which is sudo apt-get install -y nginx, right? That's the server we'll be using. Now let me run this next command. So what this command does that I'm about to run, it confirms whether or not we have the nginx server running on our virtual machine. Let's see that. I mean, so there it is, right? You can see our server. It's on there, nginx master process. It's running. Yeah, looks like a healthy server to me. I don't know what you guys think. Now, what we want to do now is we want to test the web page, right? So I'm going to have to move to another tab. I hope you guys aren't getting dizzy from all the tab changes I'm doing. It comes with the process. If you know anything about development, you have at least 15 tabs running at a time. So now let's quickly test this on our local host. Let's see if the server that we're running, is it really running, or is it just on our terminal messing with our minds? Quickly open up another terminal. Okay, just give me a second. I'm about to share. Okay, looks like our server's done. It's actually down. Let me run that server again. Let me share the screen so you see where we are stuck. Cool. We're back. Okay, cool. As you can see, there's our server running. Now we just have to test the page. Is it gonna run? Now, since it's running on localhost, just be prepared for all types of errors. I'm just crossing my fingers that demo gods are with us today. Okay, I'm gonna have to run this again just so I can get another IP. Okay. Do you have any questions in the chat while it loads? Okay, I'm seeing people complaining about the screen. Can you guys see the screen now? Seems like there was a small problem with the screen. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, we're good again. Perfect. Perfect. So I'm just waiting for the server to run again, and then we can test our IP. Okay, cool. Seems like we're done. And once it's done, it generates an IP, right? So this is the screen and I'm now sharing. As you can see, once the terminal is good and our server is running, there's an IP address that we get, right? This is the IP address. Now, what it needs from us is really to test this server. We're going to run that IP and see if it actually runs. So let me copy this. Okay. So I copied our IP, as you can see here on top. Now it'll ask me, remember, we're not running on HTTPS, right? So do we want to continue on the site? Normally I'd say no, but guys, don't worry, I'm not trying to scam anyone. Plus this is running on my PC. So let's continue to site and find out what happens. There we go. Voila, our Nginx server actually runs. So we've actually managed to run a web server on the cloud. We're good to go. Okay, so now that we have our Nginx server running, what we want to do now is create a new instance with gcloud, right? So we have one VM instance running. We want to see if we can run more, because the best thing about this, we've been offered a persistent 5 gig home directory, right? So I'm not saying spin all the web servers that you want to, but it gives us permission to spin off as much as we like. So I'm going to quickly run back to our terminal. Where is it? There we go. We are back on our terminal. Can everyone see my terminal? Please let me know in the chat. So now in the Cloud Shell, we're going to create another instance. So here's the command. Now remember I was telling you with GCP, every command you start with will always be gcloud, right? So let's run that, see how that works out. Let's see what we get. It's running, it's running. It's running slow, but it's running. And there we go. We have another server. Now, the same as it did with the first one, right? We get an internal IP and then we get an external IP once our server is running. So that's how we know we have a good, healthy server. We are even provided with IP addresses that we can test out, right? So I think here we just checked that we can run a VM, or rather we can create one, and then we can run an Nginx server on that VM we just created. Okay, cool. Next step. So what do we do now? We have two instances running. Okay, one more thing to do. Now we want to check actually all our compute instances, right? We want to see the whole thing. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to run this command. gcloud compute instance create -- help. Already we see there's an error here. Invalid choice instance. Okay. Let me find out where I went wrong there. Okay, I was supposed to say instances because we're running more than one. My mistake. That's on me. Let's see what happens. And there you go. So right here, we can actually see. So there we have it. There's our instances running over there. Okay, cool. Now to get out of here, to go back to our terminal, we just run Control C, and we're free again. Okay, cool. Let's go back to our dashboard. Okay, cool. Let's go back to Compute Engine. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, we are already in Compute Engine. My mistake. So VM instances, come back here. Let's actually quickly refresh our VM instance. See, after refreshing, you can see the first one we created, the first instance we had, and our second instance now you can see it also here. Now, the best part about this is that, I mean, the second instance has exactly the same configuration as our first. Of course, you can change this. Now, let me give you an example where you want to run this in different regions, right? Let's say you run, for argument's sake, a food delivery app in 2 different regions, and you want to ensure that customer service is consistent in both regions. This is where something like this comes in handy, right? Where you have different instances in those different regions, and it's a lot easier for you to actually run them. So one last thing I want us to do, I want us to actually connect SSH to our instance. Again, we're going to use our favorite command, which is gcloud. Oh, what happened there? Okay, let's get out of this again. Cool. gcloud compute SSH GCE lab 2. So this is just so we can configure our second instance, right? Europe West 1B. Yay. Almost had an error there. Look at me again typing the wrong things. Remember, guys, so that you don't get lost like how I'm getting lost, you can just copy the command from the lab and then it will do it for you. Yeah, there we go. Would we like to continue? Let's press Y. Enter a passphrase. In the chat, guys, can you come up with a passphrase I can enter? Let me go to the chat. Think of a nice passphrase I can use. Let's see what you guys have for me. Can you guys give me a passphrase? It can be one of your nicknames. It can be your dog's name. Just anything fun. What can you guys think of? No, guys, you can't say password 123. Guys, come on. Lincoln. Okay. There's Lincoln. I see Reddish. I see Rocky. You guys really went ham on the dog's name, ne? Siabonga's name is Rocky. How interesting. And Troy's dog's name is Reddish. Okay, that is interesting. Two more, guys. Let's see. Let's see. Then we'll have a quick vote before I put in the passphrase. Anyone else wants to come with an interesting passphrase we can use? Shampoo. Troy. What's going on, man? Your suggestions. First it was food. Now we're going into shampoo. Cashew. Oh my God. Troy, you see what you're doing now. People are catching your fever. Purple butterfly. You guys are coming up with interesting names. Demon hunter. Wow. Guys, you see guys are coming up with passwords. Let's see. Password. That's Whitney. Who else came up with password? Is it Piello? Am I saying that correctly? I hope I'm saying that correctly. Guys, you can't say password. You know what? I think we're gonna have a cybersecurity one just for Whitney and Piello, just so you can understand the fundamentals of cybersecurity. You guys are giving me unsafe passphrases. You know what? I am going to go with Rocky. Siabonga wins this one. So let's go for Rocky. But guys, rethink some of the things you're saying. Shampoo. No, guys. Oh, okay. Seems like it's hidden. I can't actually see it as I type it. I hope I entered correctly. Rocky's in. Okay. Now enter the passphrase. Let's see, Rocky. Okay. And we are in. Rocky for the win, guys. Thanks for that, Sia. I see people are seconding a Demon Hunter. Guys, come on, guys. You know, this thing is going to be for kids to watch one day. You know, let's be careful with the naming. Not that there's anything wrong with hunting demons. I'm just saying. Okay, cool. So now we have our passphrase in. We've entered our 2 instances. I think it's good to exit for us. We've configured everything. We've set up our servers. We've set up our 2 VM instances. We can exit, and the connection is closed on the second one. Okay, guys. So now there's a small test at the end of this. I want to see who was paying attention, right? I'm going to ask you a question. It's multiple choice. If you can help me answer this, we can finish the lab and we can win. So I'm going to read this twice. I'm going to read it slowly. Please let me know in the comments. So now the question is, through which of the following ways can you create a VM instance in Compute Engine? Is it 1, the G-Cloud command line tool, or 2, the Cloud Console? Let me read that question again. Through which of the following ways can you create a VM instance in Compute Engine? Is it A, the G-Cloud command line tool, or B, the Cloud Console? I'll take the first 5 answers and then we will see. Just know if I get this wrong, guys, it's on you. Okay, Tokolo says both. Azola also says both. Look, okay, guys. So those of you who say both, you are correct. But think of this multiple choice where it's like they're both correct, but which one is the most correct? You get what I mean? So I'll give you a chance to rephrase. Okay, Nokaya says A. Tehofato also says A. We have okay, Troy is A. Princess also says A. Okay, I'm getting a lot of A's, guys. I'm getting a lot of A's. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Actually, let me share that screen. If we get it wrong, I want you guys to see you guys made me get it wrong. If it's wrong, it's on you guys. Let's see. So here's our question. I'm going to read it again. Through which of the following ways can you create a VN instance in Compute Engine? We said, is it the G-Cloud command line tool, which is A, or the Cloud Console? Everyone said A. Let's see. Okay, fingers crossed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Guys, you see now you're killing me. Clearly the answer was B, or the most correct. Okay, let's move on. Next part of this. Oh, actually, we're done with the lab. Let's just quickly end this lab. Okay, I sort of see where the problem was. This again was on me. I forgot to click our progress as we went along with the lab. Let's see. Done with the first part. Done with this part. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's actually test it again. I have a feeling you guys are right. Let's see. I think those who said both may have proven me wrong. Let's see. Voila! Wow, okay. You guys are right all along. Now let's end the lab. Cool. So now, once you end the lab, guys, please give it a rating. Then you submit it. And then in your emails, you'll get a test score of your lab, of how well you did in the lab. Okay. Let's go back to our main screen. So that does it essentially for our demo, right? That's what I wanted to show you guys, how to play around the GCP labs and how to create your own VN instances. So this was an example of Compute Engine where you can spin up a VN, set up your resources, and deploy your app. Now, in further sessions, we'll explore things like security. We'll explore things like monitors where you can check your bill, you can check your instances, you can see if your instance is down, right? This is like a deeper understanding of GCP and how you can configure it to your needs. Okay, guys, that's it from my side. Thank you very much for joining the session. Please email me if you have any questions, or you can follow me on LinkedIn at Simon Mokgotlhoa for any further questions. Just stop sharing and I'll do Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please throw them in the chat. Also, I want to see, let me point out those who are right all along, right? With Tukelo, he said both originally. We have Troy, who also suggested it was both. I mean, you guys are right. You guys are right. I must say, you guys are right. Azola also said both. Siabonga said both. And like, I'm going to start calling Siabonga Rocky. Siabonga, if you're cool with that, your new name is Rocky. We like that. That's our passphrase. Awesome. Okay, so earlier, Siyabonga, you asked for about the certification of attendance. We actually hadn't thought about certification for attendance because at the end of the program, we're actually hoping that people get actual certification. So it's actually something we still have to discuss with the team. But what we can do, I mean, since all of you who attended the boot camp are essentially invited to DevFest, you can be presented with this at DevFest. Just keep attending more of the sessions so that we can actually see how we go about certification of attendance. Okay, so Piello wants to know, how do I access the labs? Okay, so you go to Cloud Skills Boost. Let me share that screen. So let me send the link first. So really just go to this website, which is cloudskillsboost.google. There you'll find like a litany of labs. All sorts of labs are there. First thing you do when you're on Cloud Skills Boost is to register with your Gmail. Oh, okay, Siabong is cool with the name Rocky. So first thing you do is you register your account on Gmail with Cloud Skills Boost, and then you'll be asked if you want to be part of the Innovator program, which gives you free credits. Once you accept, you sign up for the Innovator Champion program. This gives you credits, and then you can do some labs. But throughout the boot camp, we will provide you with labs that are specific to the boot camp, so that we can ensure that at the end of this, you get certifications. Okay, guys, that's it from my side. No more questions, or do we still have any questions? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Sia.